All right, peace. It's time to get into speaking your truth and expressing who you are. Who you are as a spiritual being, the inner being that's inside of you, inside of your body. This inner being is the one who experiences. The one who experiences becomes labeled as your name, as your concepts and ideas of yourself, your self-image. This inner being, though, is formless and infinite, and that's a God. That's God inside of you. And they've tried to conceal this inner being of yours to a form. And these forms can even be intangible, and they're thought forms. So these forms are actually limiting your mind or limiting your infinite being into a limited perception of thought. And these perceptions of thought that your inner being agrees with is going to let you grow or die. Grow or die in the sense of your physical body. Your physical body is your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the feminine principle of existence. The inner being is the masculine principle of existence. So if you think that you're completely physical, you're neglecting a whole aspect of yourself. The spiritual side, or the masculine side, is the condenser of the feminine principle. The masculine side is something that illuminates a possibility. So when we're thinking along the lines of something. But when you're dealing with holistic thought, you're thinking all around something. You're thinking in a 360-degree circle, being able to look around the thought form that you're examining, being able to look at things from all perspectives. The masculine is the focuser. That is what pierces the darkness. And we may be in darkness on this physical earth, which is ignorance. We're able to pierce the darkness with the masculine principle. The masculine principle, though, or the feminine principle, which I'm referring to as darkness, is not negative. We think darkness is negative when darkness actually holds all the light. There wouldn't be darkness without light. So if we realize that even the darkness holds all the stars, which is light, that must be the underlying principle of existence. Just as silence is the underlying principle of sound, or just as space is the underlying principle of objects, there is a permeating existence that we're not aware of. And this is what we call God, not a being up in the sky telling you what the fuck you should do or what I should do, and telling and making cosmic forces go against or for you. That ability to harness cosmic forces that are around us, or elements, or ethereal light that is space, is through the way of our words and our thoughts and our actions and our emotions. All of these bring to you whatever you're vibrating at. And your vibration, it's not necessarily a physical vibration that attracts things, it's your internal vibration. And your internal vibration depends on how much your internal being has the capacity to hold more light in itself. So your soul or your spirit is actually the inner light or the divine spark of this physical reality. This physical reality is controlled by your soul or your spirit. And if you do with heart math and you see the spirit is actually your aura is your auric field. Your auric field bridges the spiritual the spiritual aspect of the infinite, the thing that is non-comprehensible, and then there's the aspect of you that is comprehensible and that holds your physical body in form. That physical body, that soul principle, or the thing that communicates the infinite to your higher self, which is your auric field or your inner being, that aspect of you is a communicator between the infinite and your lower self. But when we speak of spiritual guidance or intuition or God, that's actually your higher self. But if you're able to listen to that inner being that is you, instead of listening to your body, which is fear, your body is a fearful animal, and you could hear its reinforcements of its survival when you're interfacing with your body. When you lose all senses in a deep meditation, you could actually experience realities beyond this one, because this one is a tool for growth. It's all, this physical body is a learning mechanism, and it's an adaptive mechanism. So you could put your body under anything and it will adapt. So this adaptive mechanism will bring you whatever you want. And that's what we're here to do, is to cultivate this humbleness of being in a body, of not being an omniscient, omnipresent being. And then there's non-being that everything is in. This non-being is the space between everything. This non-being is the silence between everything. But when you tap into these underlying principles of existence, you're actually connecting with your higher self. But when you deal with your higher self long enough, your higher self can actually tap more into that infinite potential that the higher self is actually experiencing. The higher self is nothing more, well, I don't want to limit it, but I want to say it's the spiritual eye that is peeking. That is experiencing from the infinite. It is the individual expression of the infinite, and that is what people call ego. And you could even call that your body is the individual expression of the infinite, because we're in the infinite space right now. It's not up there, but the higher aspect of you, they say, is in the stars, but it's actually inside of your body. And when you deal with natural law, it's as above, so below, as within, so without. So everything that's going up in the stars is actually going up inside of you, is actually working on the lower realms. So there's many different aspects to being a spirit and being able to exit the current reality paradigm of as above, so below, into a different space and time where thought vibrates on different frequencies. But even there's a capacity for that. I'm sorry, scratch that. That I don't think it even anything even goes above that natural law. But the natural law can be compensated and balanced out and counterbalanced. But to be able to experience of any spiritual experience, I would say, is to be able to realize that your inner being is inside of you, that God is inside of you, that the spirit of everything in existence, that the underlying principle of existence is inside of you. And you could prove this through the breath. And when people break down the etymology of the breath, it's spirit. So your breath is the spirit. Your breath is your actual essence in this world, in this physical body. And this spirit is a loving principle. It's caring. It's something that holds everything together. And being able to manipulate this breath, this spirit that you are as your true self, you're able to control yourself more often. You're able to control the false self, which is your body, and the true self is able to control the false self through the breath. And you see that there's so many things and life forces or death forces of construction, destruction, creation in this one way of being able to manipulate your own reality, because your own reality is all inside of you. Your inner being dictates all of reality. Your inner being dictates all of reality. And whatever your inner being is perceiving is reality to your inner being. Your inner being is God. Your inner being is everything spiritual about you. Your inner being is the thing you experience when you close your eyes. Your inner being is darkness. You close your eyes and everyone has an inner being and it's darkness. And your ability to visualize and throw light into that darkness is your ability to create with your inner being. When we are receiving light from the outside, your brain is processing it. And that process of the brain is very limited. Unless you have your spiritual senses available to decode or envelop more light into your perceptual envelope, as Dr. Valentine would say, they put a ceiling on your spiritual senses. They put a ceiling on your perceptions. And when you arise that kundalini or bring it up to your crown chakra, you're able to see more frequencies of the spiritual realm that we are in. The spiritual realm is inside, but the spiritual realm is communicating with you through the material realm. And if you are able to harness that raw sexual energy or that creative force, that principle of chaos, and order it into your physical body and move it through all your churches or your chakras or all of the levels of consciousness in your body, you are able to experience more light. So when we deal with focus and controlled masculine principle, we are able to create more light in the darkness, to create in our inner reality more of what we want, more of what we want. And more of what we want is dependent on what you feel other people should give you or what you need from the external world. The external world is just a physical game to get what you want out of yourself. But we could bridge this gap, and this is the key to being an internal creator, to then go to be an external creator in the external world through action. But to be an internal creator is to be self-reliant on what you want to experience inside of yourself. To be self-reliant inside of yourself, you can create your own experiences, your own feelings and emotions that you want to experience through an external stimulus. You're able to experience that external stimulus that you think you would get. That feeling you think you would get from an external stimulus, you will get that through invoking internal feelings inside of yourself. And that is self-responsibility. That is self-fulfillment. That is being able to fill your own cup. And being able to fill your own cup is the most profound thing you could do, because when you're down and out and when people don't have empathy for what you're going through in that moment and through your life and through the hard times that you only see in yourself, you're able to be that father or motherly figure, or you're able to use those divine principles to help your human self, which is a child of the creator, which is the child of the creative aspect of yourself, which is your higher principle. The higher aspect of you is God. The higher aspect of you is controlling your physical body. And that's your internal being. But we're so indulged with our senses and so buried down of our spiritual power of being able to create and being able to listen and being able to see through the veil of existence. This veil of existence is pierced over your spiritual eye. They call it your first eye, but this first eye deals with the principle of thought and being able to create and being able to receive the fruits that is being given to you through light codes of realization that is being constantly given to you in this moment of perfection. And they call it the present moment or the present, because if you're able to decode your life in the sense of learning in every single moment, you are able to reap the seeds that you have planted before every single moment that you've lived in the past existence. This past existence is an echo from the older now to the newer now. And if you start to echo in the sense of emit a different frequency in this newer now, your newer nows will become an echo of this moment right now. So that moment that just passed was an older now, but this is echoing to newer nows. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Everything in existence is actually you. Your spirit or your breath is the permeating principle, the underlying principle of existence. And if you could realize that, you can see that you're actually everything in an individualized version of everything. Everything is experiencing itself through your limited perception as a thing in a body. You are a thing. You are not your lower aspect, which is the material aspect, that is the lower aspect, is yourself as a body, as what people call Christian, or your physical body. Your body ages. It doesn't age, but the perception of aging is true. But there are certain teachers that teach that your body isn't even meant to die. We are dealing with a principle of death in this realm, but death is just the fall into matter of the spirit. The spirit dies when it falls into matter. So this whole principle of being alive is actually death. But we are here to spiritualize matter, as Dr. Valentine says, that spiritualizing matter is actually bringing more life principle into your body. And when you bring more life principle into your body, you don't experience the physical death. Why? Because ego death or psychological death or death of perceptions that are alive in you, killing those perceptions. And when we realize that perceptions are thoughts, and these thoughts are alive as themselves, and they continue to live inside of you, you have to go inside of your mind and sacrifice these limited perceptions, and this is what people call demons. The etymology of demon is totally different, but demon as in the sense that these thoughts that are not serving you, you have to kill them. You have to kill them. You have to go inside your mind and pluck them out of the garden of your mind. But if you identify as the infinite being you are, and you go in and pluck these negative thought forms out of you, and you recognize that these aren't actually you, these are actually thought forms of fear that we've adopted from the outer realm. And this outer realm holds spiritual evil and the spiritual evil comes from the inner evil, and this evil is nothing but unbalanced thought, unrecognized thought, unbalanced perceptions of the world, projections of others' inner demons. And these inner demons whisper in your ear what they want to hear. What they want to hear so they can survive. There is two principles. Everything's based off two until you make it one. But these two principles is love, that's your breath, and fear, which is your body's sensational illusion of danger. And your body's sensational illusions of danger brought into the inner chambers of your spiritual being creates spiritual disease. We must distinguish between when it's our body's perceptions in our inner being and our inner being's resonance to the world of vibration that we are experiencing. If your inner being is resonating in the sense that it wants to hold this thought or feeling or emotion or idea or action or person or self-image, if you want to hold this resonance of vibration between you two, you have to be an outlet. You have to be the plug. Your being is the outlet and the thought forms are the plugs. And your inner being infinite, it could hold any type of plug you want. It could hold any type of thought form, any type of emotion, any type of self-image you want. Anything that you want is receptible to your inner being. The thing is, how much do you believe it? And that belief is the electrical current between the thought form, which is the plug, and the outlet, which is your being. But the electricity comes from the outlet. Your outlet is the inner being. It's your inner reality. So the electrical current is your belief. And if you're able to infuse thought, which is the plug, which manifests things into external reality, and you plug that in to your internal being and you light it up, you can't help but experience in yourself, which is then reflected through law into the external world. And the external world could just be someone else's mind that idea comes to fruition, and you are able to become something that is an illusion, in the sense that your whole being is eternal and infinite and beyond conception, but your beyond conception creates conceptions. It creates ideas from its own mind, from its own self. So that's all I gotta say right now. I'm coming back. Don't worry. I'm coming back. Peace.